Hello and welcome to Lucent IS. Lucent IS Lucknow Swagatam. In this video, we'll discuss about the different sources of ancient Assam history, which is important for upcoming APSC prelims examination. Now, this is the content, the literary sources, the indigenous literature, Purana, Tantric Buddhist literature, epics, Sanskrit literature. So these are the different sources of ancient Assam history. Now, the sources of Assam history can be divided into two main parts. The first part is the literary sources, whereas the second part is the archaeological sources. The literary sources include the indigenous literature, the Purana, the epics, the Tantric Buddhist literature, Sanskrit literature, Buddhist Jain literature, etc. Whereas there are some foreign accounts such as the Greek account, the Chinese account, and the Islamic account. Similarly, the archaeological sources, there are main three types. The one is the inscription, second is the coinage, and third is the material remains. The inscription can be divided up into two different types. The first one is the dynastic inscriptions, and the second part one is the local inscriptions. Whereas coinage can be divided into the Ahom coinage, the Koch coinage, and the other coinage. The material remains can be divided into the Neolithic, Megalithic, and different types of pottery. So this is the basic about the sources of ancient Assam history. Again, there are main two divide, literary and archaeological. Now let us start with the different sources. The first literary sources, already we have told about the indigenous sources. Now, what are the indigenous literature? The Satavata Brahmana records the progress of Aryan culture up to the river Sadanira, identified with the river Karutaya. Okay. Then Aitra Brahmana records the progress of that culture in Kamrupa. Gopata Brahmana narrates a tradition regarding the origin of name Kamrupa, indicating an early contact with of the Aryan and non-Aryan elements. Similarly, Purana. In different Puranas, there are mention about Assam and Kamrupa. What are those? The Garuda Purana mentions Kamrupa and Kamakhya as a great center of pilgrimage, very important for Prelims perspective. The Markandeya Purana mentions Pragjatisa along with Udachala, Lohita, Kamrupa as the counters in the east. The Vishnu Purana mentions it, the Baraha or boar, which is the incarnation of Lord Vishnu, the killing of Naraka, and the enthronement of Bhagavatta in Pragjatisa. The king Naraka legend is mentioned in the Kalika Purana. So, এনেদৰে different পুৰাণত অসমৰ ancient কথাবোৰ mention আছে. Next come the Tantric Buddhist literature. For example, the Evajra Tantra of 8th century mentions Kamrupa as one of the four Pithas of India. Similarly, Kamrupa Yatra, what is that? A Sanskrit word composed in Assam, deals with the mode of worship of the Kamakhya and record the origin of the names Pragjatisa and Kamrupa. Very important for Prelims perspective. So, similarly, other tantric literatures such as the Kamakhya Tantra, Yogini Tantra, etc., mentions about Kamrupa and Assam. Now, the epics. Epics is the source of Assam history. The Adikanta of Ramayana records the foundational city of Pragjatisa by Amutaraja. Similarly, the Kiskinda Kanda refers to the city of Pragjatisa in the Varaha mountain. The Mahabharata refers to city and the country of Pragjatisa to its ruler Naraka and Bhagaratta. Similarly, different Sanskrit literature, for example, Arthashastra by Kautilya, it refers Kamrupa as a different name such as Praholita, Suvarnakunda, etc. The Raghuvamsa Kalidasa refers to Pragjatisa Kamrupa as lying to the east of the Brahmaputra. Similarly, Harkasarita by Banapatra mentions about Kamrupa. Bilhana's Vikramaditya Sarita refers about Kamrupa. Kalhana's Rastarangani, very important for prelims. Kalhana's Rastarangani contains the account of the marriage between Kamrupa princess Amrita Prabha and Meghavahana, a king of Kashmir. Similarly, the Buddhist Jain literature also mentions about ancient Assam history. Very important for prelims. Also, the main GS5 perspective, the foreign literature as a source. For example, the Greek source. Now, what is the Greek source? Herodotus mentions Kalatiai along the Kangaridai and Basioi of Assam. It is possible that due to their predominance, some part of Kamrupa was known as a land of Kalitas. Okay. Then Megasthenes and Strabo refer to the delta of the east who were noted for their working in gold. It is probably that a reference to is to hill people of the region. Pliny, in his natural history, refers to number of people of the frontier and trans-Himalayan regions who can be identified as the Tibetan tribes of Assam. In the periplus of the Eritrean Sea and Ptolemy's geography, we find reference to people and places which may be also identified as being located in ancient Assam. Chinese source is very important for Prelims perspective. The accounts of Sankian of 2nd century BC mention the existence of commercial and cultural context between ancient Assam and China from the very early times. Similarly, the accounts of Sun Tzu record the sending of 2 embassies from India to China, of which one is sent by Yuchai of the Kapili Valley. Yuchai is identified with the king Kalyana Varmana, very important, Kalyana Varmana of Burman dynasty in the ancient Assam. Similarly, I Ching or I King in this account refers to King Devavarma of eastern India who held sway over the Nalanda region. So this Devavarma has been identified with King Avantivarman, who may have been a successor of Bhaskar Varma. Similarly, most important source, we have already read about this in different classes, 6, 7, 8 of Seva and Seva. Siyuki, written by Chinese pilgrim Huan San, who visited India during 629 to 45 AD, gives accounts of his visit to Kamrupa and stay at the court of King Bhaskar Brahmana. And it provides information about the political, social, and religious life of people of that time. Similarly, another Chinese work on history of Tang Dynasty gives information about the relation between Kamrupa King Bhaskar Brahmana and Chinese mission of 648 AD. Islamic sources, the foundation sources are there. For example, Arab merchant Suleiman in 851 AD refers about Kamrupa. Similarly, Hudud Abdul Alam, composed by unknown author in 982 AD, refers about Kamrupa. Al-Birani's Arabic work, the Tariqal hymn, written about 1030 AD, mentions Kamrupa lies to the east of Kanaus. Similarly, Tabakari Nasri of Minadan Chiras gives information about the Muhammad ibn Bakhtiar's expedition against Tibet through Kamrupa. These are the different Islamic sources. So, what are the different sources? Foreign sources, the Chinese sources, the Greek sources, and the Islamic sources. Then comes the archaeological sources. First comes the inscriptions, different inscriptions. It can be divided into two types: the local inscriptions and the dynastic inscriptions. So, about dynastic inscriptions, the Tezpur rock inscription of King Hazaravarmana is the earliest known inscription of the ancient Assam. Similarly, Masal rock inscription, Barganga rock inscription, Dubi, Dhahanpur, etc. refers about the Burman dynasty. Similarly, for about the Salastamba, we have the Tezpur rock inscription, Hayankal copper plate, Tezpur copper plate, property copper plates, etc. So, then local inscription, the Kamauli grant of Vajradeva found at Varanasi records the victory of Mayana, the general of the Goda ruler, Rampala over king of Kamrupa, and Vajradeva's conquest of western part of kingdom of Kamrupa. The Assam plates of Pallavadeva gives the names of the 3 kings who were probably the successor of Vajradeva. The Kanai were very important for this one, for Prelims executive. The Kanai Boa rock inscription dated 1205 AD records the destruction of the Turkish army while invading Kamrupa. Similarly, the Allahabad Prasasti of Samudragupta named the name of Kamrupa occurs as a frontier kingdom whose king owed allegiance to King Samudragupta of his own accord. Similarly, the Mandaswar inscription, Apsara inscription, the Pasupati temple inscription, Pagalpur grant, these are the different local inscriptions where there are mentions about Kamrupa and Assam. Next come the coinage. Important post coinage, Ahom coinage, and other coinage. So among the coins of pre-Ahom times, there are certain gold issues of the type called Imitation Gupta, found in the hoard discovered at Paglatek in the south bank of Brahmaputra. So some copper coins discovered at Tulpadum Tea Estate near Tezpur are roughly round in shape of varying weight. These coins have the black river bank reverse and a single letter Faha, Haha, and Ba on the observe. It is probable that Faha indicates the Vanamala Varman and Ba means Balavarman and Ha indicates Hadara Varman. The quartz coin is okay. The quartz coins very important for prelims. Those were the die struck and round in shape. They were struck in a comparatively broad and thin plan in imitation of Tanka of the Sultans of Bengals. So similarly, the Ahom coinage, one characteristic about Ahom coinage were they were octagonal. Uh, why? Because supposedly Yugonjantra mentions that Kamarupa is eight-sided. Then comes the material remains. So about the material remains, very important is the Daw Parvatiya. Daw Parvatiya remains of the Sun Temple in Tezpur. Now, when this inscription, the excavation was made in the year 1924, and time is the 6th century AD. So this is a small briefing about the ancient Assam history and its different sources. So thank you.